Good afternoon. Today we have to take the discussion of test number 1. But before starting the discussion, you have to know a few things. Firstly, regarding my marking pattern. You can see on your copies, I give marks in 4 parts. Firstly, you can see conceptual clarity. On conceptual clarity, 30% marks. Means if you are writing a 10 marker question, 3 marks for conceptual clarity. Then you can see content. Along with good concept, you need good content as well. So 25% I give on your content. Means if you are writing a 10 marker question, or you can say if you are writing a 20 marker question, then you can simply understand 5 marks on your content. Then you have to see that how much you have got. Then you can see context. You have good concept, your content is also good, but you are not writing in the context of the question. You are not writing relevant things what has been asked. This is 20%. These 3 things are quite objective. And what I suggest, that this is collectively you can say 75%. Out of this 75%, you have to try to score 50% at least. Then you can see presentation and analysis. Presentation and analysis, you can say this is some kind of subjectivity comes here. This is 25%. Any doubt, any question? Why I am doing this? Here you will come to know that where exactly you are lacking. कहाँ पे काम करना है आपको? If you are getting good marks on your conceptual clarity, but less marks on this content part, context part. It means you have to know that your concept is good and content is also right, but you are not writing in the proper context of the question, right? A few more things I want to tell you that what I have seen. A few students are not writing the names of the thinkers correctly. If you are the examiner and you are checking the copies, wherever I have made circle or question mark, it means you have to come to know that कुछ गड़बड़ वहाँ पे हुआ है आपसे. You have committed some mistake over there. If you see question mark, if you see circle, so if those things I have addressed or I am addressing right from my discussion, okay, fine. If not, then you have to ask. You are not writing the spelling of Descartes correctly. Russell में you are writing single L. Locke में you are not using E. You are writing L-O-C-K, Locke. So if you are the examiner, then you can simply understand that. You can simply think that what impression this will leave on you as examiner. Write these things quite correctly. प्लेटो का पी आप सिंपल से स्मॉल लेटर से लिख रहे हो. अब these things should not be taught from here. But wherever I have seen all these things, I have made circle or question mark जहाँ जहाँ पे I have seen. Right? So these things you have to be careful. That's why I used to pronounce Descartes as Descartes to bring you at the condition that कि वहाँ पे you will not make any mistake while spelling the thing. Right? These are simple small things. A few students have performed excellently. One fellow, I think Saurav Bhati, I think he is already selected student or not. He has got one of the maximum marks ever I have given, 134. More than 134 marks I think he has got. You people have scored I think 100, or if you are getting 100 plus marks from my end, somehow you have to be satisfied, means you have some potential. If I am giving you 100 marks, then UPSC will definitely give you 120, 125, 130. My marking pattern is tough. Whatever marks I am giving you, UPSC will never give less than that. When you deserve 5 marks, then I give 4.5 marks. Any question? Right? May I proceed? If you can say sample model answers you will get, where you have model answers, you have to go through and then you can match your answers with model answers. That's why mostly you can see I have mentioned that see the model answer. Then exactly you will come to know that where you are lacking, what you are missing. Don't try to catch the language of the model answers. These model answers are written by me in my handwriting. I never give anyone's model answers to you. These model answers are prepared by me. So this you can use as your content. Exactly you can write. But what I say that don't try to catch the language, try to catch the thought. That's why you can see that I have strictly followed the word limit and all these. Where you don't have model answers, I will discuss the things in detail and quite slowly as well. You can note down certain things and then you can make your supplementary questions as well. But one simple request that try to make your questions only in the context of the question. What question has been asked, only related to that point or that topic you have to ask the question. Otherwise you know that if you students will get the recording of this, so we will deviate. Here we have to discuss the questions. If you have any personal query, later on you can ask. After discussion you can ask. On phone call you can ask. Right? So may I proceed? See question number 1A. This is on Hume and Kant, and you have model answer of this question. What is psychological explanation of causation by Hume? And how Kant reacts against it? In a few copies what I saw that Hume is an empiricist, Hume is this philosopher, that philosopher, all these things are well known, well established. On these things you should not waste your time and words. Right from first line you have to come to the topic, address the question directly the way You can see I have started the model answer. What you can say regarding Hume? Hume is a consistent empiricist. That consistency you cannot see, or you will not see in Locke or Berkeley. Three types of explanations. Since this is very first question, so I have to give some additional concepts as well, and then later on you will ask your questions. Either through fact or through thought or idea. Fact means something is objective, physics. But when you explain the things through ideas, then once again two options are there, either psychology or mathematics. This is the basic difference between physics and mathematics. Physics always begins with fact. Mathematics never begins with fact. Just for your satisfaction, you can reach up to the fact, you can draw the certain facts. So it means if factual is there, it means something is objective. If through idea, either psychology or mathematics. Psychology, subjective. Mathematics, even after begins with idea, mathematics is not objective, you have to say universal. Mathematical ideas are supposed to be universal. So, what Hume did? Hume is an empiricist. He went for psychological. When you will see my pre-class material, I have used the word internal twice in Hume while explaining the causation. In two uses of internal, first use of internal means integral, means cause and effect are not integral, they are not integrated. In phenomenal world, in physical world, they are occurring separately, independently. No internal relation is there. Here internal means integral. They are free from each other. No relation is there. Second time when I have used internal, it means psychological. Means this is not the part of physics, this is the part of psychology. Physically, objectively, externally, they are not related at all. They are not related at all. But when we see them subsequently for many times, then we start thinking that are they related? Are they related? Then what we do according to Hume? Prior, cause, latter, effect. Right? Psychological explanation of causation. But this psychological explanation of causation became a biggest threat for the scientific temper or physics that was growing in Europe in the 18th century. Scientific temper started right from European Renaissance, 15th, 16th century. It became a threat for physics, so Kant reacted against it, re-established the causation. Physics, through synthetic a priori judgments, and that's why Kant has done objective deduction of the categories, and he has made his historical statement, understanding makes nature, and this you may be knowing that Kant himself has mentioned that this is second Copernican revolution. Now it is your turn if you have any question.
Sir, can you say that Kant had made Hume more consistent? Because category is also a psychology, or from one perspective, psychological
you are saying that Kant has made Hume consistent. Hume himself is a consistent philosopher. Hume is a consistent empiricist. Later on you will see that one question I have given on this concept. There I will discuss the things in detail. Actually, Hume you have to see with Locke and Berkeley empiricist. So Hume is consistent. Hume is among a few thinkers, you can say, whose consistency cannot be challenged. So you should not say that Kant has made the Hume consistent. अरे भैया कैंट तो बाद में आएगा, ह्यूम तो पहले आ गया ना. ह्यूम की तो डेथ हो गई 1777 में. तो हाउ कैंट कैन मेक द ह्यूम कंसिस्टेंट? नो, you can say that Kant has definitely tried to resolve the problems which were raised due to the consistent empiricism of Hume regarding substance, regarding self, regarding causation. Okay. Next. Is Kant an empiricist? अरे भैया कैंट और ह्यूम को क्यों मिला रहे हो यहाँ पे? कैंट empiricist नहीं है. He is not saying that I am an empiricist. Now I think you have got my point. Hume is saying that I am an empiricist. So consistency you have to search in Hume, whether he is a consistent empiricist or not. Kant is trying to reconciliate the rationalism and empiricism. Can you say that Kant is an empiricist? No. Can you say that Kant is not an empiricist? No. Can you say that Kant is a rationalist? No. Can you say that Kant is not a rationalist? No. This consistency you have to see regarding, you can say if someone is rationalist, then you have to see that whether he is a consistent rationalist or not. If someone is saying that I am an empiricist, then you have to say that. You have to see that whether he is a consistent empiricist or not. Kant is not saying that. Kant, so you know that. Critique. And let me come in Kant, then I will discuss whenever this is relevant. No? May I proceed? Next question is, this is really an interesting question and बहुत कम बच्चे लोग इसको properly address कर पाए. Show how Locke received the problem of knowledge from Descartes and passed it to Leibniz. What a few students have done, they have addressed the concept of innate idea. Innate idea, I will say that not totally irrelevant, but not totally relevant as well. Only 2 lines I will say, and I think you will come to know the essence of the answer. My first line is, Leibniz begins with Locke and reaches up to Descartes in his process of knowledge. बताओ समझ में आया कि नहीं आया? नहीं आया तो और बोलूंगा. नहीं आया. अब ओके, नहीं आया. This first line तो अभी ध्यान रहेगा, माइंड में रहेगा ना. Leibniz begins with Locke and reaches up to Descartes. अब can you tell me Cartesian criterion of truth? Clear and distinct. Locke तो empiricist है. He will talk only about experience. Leibniz's theory of knowledge begins with obscure sensations, experience, then in due course of time, clarity comes. and now clear and distinct. Actually यहाँ पे बच्चा क्या करता है sometimes जब वो पढ़ता है when he is doing preparation, तो what he does, Descartes, Spinoza, Leibniz, Locke, Berkeley, Hume. अच्छा चलो लाइबनीज की कोई बुक बताओ जो अगर फ्लैश कर रही हो. पहले लॉक की बुक बताओ कोई. लॉक तो क्या करेगा, एन एसे कंसर्निंग ह्यूमन अंडरस्टैंडिंग, है ना. चैप्टर वाइज दिस हैज बीन क्रिटिसाइज्ड बाय लाइबनीज. लॉक की डेथ कब हुई है? लॉक की डेथ हुई 1704 में. लाइबनीज की डेथ हुई 1716 में. That's why when you see a few European authors like Frank Thilly, I think you might have Frank Thilly's book. This is simply UG book. This book used to prescribe. जब फ्रैंक थिली बुक देखोगे तो उसमें क्या है, डेकार्ट्स, स्पिनोजा, लॉक, लाइबनीज. लाइबनीज बुक लिख रहा है न्यू एसेज ऑन ह्यूमन अंडरस्टैंडिंग. तो लाइबनीज लॉक की फिलॉसफी को क्रिटिसाइज करेगा. लाइबनीज विल क्रिटिसाइज द फिलॉसफी ऑफ लॉक. जनरली बच्चा ये नहीं समझ पाता है. लाइबनीज वॉज राइटिंग दिस बुक chapter wise criticism of Locke's book, an essay concerning human understanding. Leibniz's book is New Essays on Human Understanding. This book was finished in 1704, but due to the death of Locke, Leibniz withheld the publication of this book. Ab, these things you not need to know, but conceptually at least you have to know that Leibniz had enough time to react against the philosophy of Locke. Locke got birth in 1632, died in 1704. Leibniz got birth in 1646 and died in 1716. और ह्यूम किसके अगेंस्ट? ह्यूम विल react against both of them. An inquiry concerning human understanding. He will inquire the things. और इसके against who will react? Kant. These things you have to try to do, you have to do while doing your preparation. So it means Leibniz, when you will see Leibniz's theory of knowledge, you will find that Leibniz begins with obscure, unclear perception. That you can say perception. One question I have given, that reconciliation of rationalism and empiricism begins with Leibniz and finally it is done by Kant. Now you can see the model answer, and then if anything is not clear, then you can ask. Yes, you can say so. Leibniz's whole philosophy is hierarchical. One more important line I am telling you. When I'll say any important conceptual line, this you will see that I will keep on using throughout the discussion. As Leibniz's metaphysics is hierarchical, his epistemology is also hierarchical. When I teach Leibniz, then I say that Leibniz is the first German thinker who is included in your syllabus. Then I say that Leibniz begins when I will complete Leibniz. After completion of Leibniz, then Leibniz begins. Then first question that I ask to my student, that after teaching his monadology and all this, then I ask first question, whether I have taught you metaphysics of Leibniz or epistemology of Leibniz or both. तो अगर बच्चा बोला both, then I say why? Why you are saying this? If he says that as his metaphysics is hierarchical, his epistemology is also hierarchical. Anything else? That's why you can see that Locke will say that there is nothing in the intellect which is not in which is not already in the senses. Leibniz will say that definitely, but there is nothing in the intellect which is not already in senses except the intellect itself. Right? That's why you can see in third paragraph, I have written that. But here Leibniz went much deeper because according to him, before we experience the sensation of blue or yellow or sound and heat, at the best capacity of so experiencing the sensation must be granted to be innate. Sensation is not innate, but this capacity of sensation is innate. Right? May I proceed? Next is, this is a simple question. What problem does Plato have with the view that knowledge is based on sense perception? Simply Sophistian concept of knowledge. Man is the measure of everything and homo mensura, and knowledge is perception. Then Plato said that certain limitations are there, so perception cannot be taken as knowledge. He will talk about conceptual knowledge, and that does not come in the range of perception. So since it is a simple question, so you can go through the model answer, and if you have any question, then you can ask.
One question is related to this. Is knowledge is form according to Plato? This knowledge in itself is idea. How can we explain that? This knowledge is some process. And there is a question that knowledge is form, one of the form.
You are asking about 2013 question number. Each and every question I have in my mind, question number 2A. But as I have told you that here we have to restrict ourselves only up to the questions what is asked. Have you gone through the model answer now? Is that fine? You have to go through, you have to give time, don't take it lightly. See the answer. If anything, any word, anything is not clear, then you have to ask your supplementary questions. Right now? Yes. Yes. See that. Mainly what you have to try to convey to your examiner that perception of objects is possible, and Plato is not taking the knowledge of the objects as highest knowledge, ideas. Okay? Rational intuition, you can say, many things are there. But mainly what you have to address, that perception is possible of only of this physical world, material world, and regarding this world, since everything is in flux, so universal knowledge, eternal knowledge, permanent knowledge is not possible. Objective knowledge is not possible. As you accept knowledge as perception, knowledge will become subjective, temporary. That cannot be accepted as knowledge. Right?
So in this question, while answering, in introduction, should we explain what is the criteria of knowledge according to Plato?
That you can use in the end. You have to start with sophist. In conclusion, you can say that he has used vertical line analogy. Through this vertical line, he is, although he is talking about sensation or perception, but he did not consider that as highest knowledge. Actually, many things are there. Among many things, you have to see that what is the most relevant thing that you have to write. बच्चा irrelevant thing तभी लिखता है जब उसके पास proper content नहीं होता है. If you don't have proper content, then it doesn't matter what question has been asked. You will write only those things what you know. Right? May I proceed? Next is, what is Descartes' criterion of truth? How does he derive it from cogito ergo sum? Here you have to address clear, distinct. You may be knowing the difference between clear and distinct. And then you have to come to cogito and mention that how this cogito, according to Descartes, is clear and distinct as well. You can see the model answer. You know that a few students have written Descartes is the father of modern Western rationalism. If you want to write, you have to write he is father of modern Western philosophy, not only rationalism. कई बार बच्चा क्या मिस्टेक कर देता है, Descartes is the founder of rationalism. अब गलत हो जाएगा ये, because first rationalism did not appear in Descartes. Descartes is father of modern Western philosophy. So, try to write the correct things. Sometimes, अब कई बार बोल देते हैं बच्चा कि वो लिखेगा Locke is the father of empiricism. If Locke is the father of empiricism, it means you are not knowing about Francis Bacon. Because there is a dispute among the scholars that whether Descartes is the father of modern Western philosophy or Francis Bacon is the father of modern Western philosophy. Mostly thinkers say that Francis Bacon cannot. So, mostly thinkers say that Descartes should be recognized as father of modern Western philosophy. Empiricism you can see in Francis Bacon. He is also, you can say, 15th, 16th century philosopher. I'm sorry, 16th, 17th century philosopher. Right? Any supplementary question do you have? You can simply derive it from cogito, na? In the beginning of the second page you can see that, or the third paragraph, you can see that how it is derived. And the last line is very important. Not deduced, but intuitively induced. इसीलिए sometimes I give the question that कि Cartesian method is whether deductive or inductive or both. You may see that question later on. May I proceed? Achha, one request I want to do. Right from next time, one thing you have to keep with you, that is simple unsolved paper. Simple unsolved paper you have to keep with you while coming for the discussion. Then I will show you that when and which year this type of question has been asked by UPSC. Year and question wise I will tell you. Simple unsolved paper, not thinker wise. Year wise unsolved paper, because year wise I will tell you. See the next question. Yes. I am telling you that you will see a question later on that topic. Here we have to restrict ourselves only up to this. Do you think that only this much things are there in Descartes? No, many things are there, and this is a process of. This is a process now. You will see that many tests you have to write on Western philosophy, and then comprehensive tests, and many questions you will see. And for rest, I am here. No problem. Next is Aristotle's disagreement with his precursors or predecessors regarding substance. If you would have the question paper, then I would have asked you to see question number 1D 2013. And you will see that same type of question has been asked by UPSC. How, by criticizing other theories of substance, Aristotle has established his theory of substance. If you have got the question, then you can read. 2013, question number 1D. Right from next time, you have to keep. Okay, so right from next time, you have to keep. You know that in this question, what mistake generally students do? They think that Aristotle has only criticized Plato's theory of substance. No. If Aristotle is saying that only matter is not the substance, only form is not the substance, form plus matter is equal to substance, or you can say M plus F is equal to S. M means matter, F means form, S means substance. It means a few thinkers before Aristotle have accepted matter as substance. Can you name any of them? The fellow has scored 134 marks. He has mentioned about Thales, water as substance. Anaximenes, air as substance, Heraclitus, fire as substance. One clue I am giving you, one concept I am giving you, कि जैसे प्लाटो को, you know that Plato has got many compliments. Whole Western philosophy is a footnote on Plato's philosophy. A perfect Greek or a complete Greek. भाई एरिस्टोटल को भी ऐसा ही हुआ है. These two are icons. Lisping Aristotle. अब I don't know that whether you know about all these things or not. Have you heard the concept of lisping Aristotle? Lisping means क्या होता है? तुतलाना. Means thinkers before Aristotle were lisping. और एरिस्टोटल ने उसको क्लियर बोल दिया. A few thinkers were lisping regarding matter as substance. A few thinkers lisping regarding form as substance. Aristotle said that no, only matter cannot be substance, only form cannot be substance. Matter plus form is equal to substance. That's why the thinker who died in 1970 and mentioned in your syllabus, Bertrand Russell, said that so far only two thinkers are born in Europe, Plato and Aristotle. All other thinkers are either Platonic or Aristotelian. So that's why you can see even in your syllabus, after Aristotle, we have to take the jump of more than 1800 years. Aristotle died in 322 BC. And the next thinker who is included in your syllabus is Descartes, got birth in 1596. These two are icons, Plato and Aristotle. No syllabus of Western philosophy is supposed to be completed without these two thinkers. अब उसी में कुछ बच्चे क्या किया, I don't know which fellow, डुअलिज्म को डेकार्ट से जोड़ रहा है. अरे भैया, डुअलिज्म डेकार्ट्स के बहुत पहले आ चुका है. डेकार्ट्स इज ओनली वन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ डुअलिज्म, माइंड बॉडी डुअलिज्म. Whatever you are studying in modern philosophy or later on, everything has been discussed in Greek philosophy. That's why when I teach Plato for about 4 days to clear 2 words, ideas and substance. What I say that Plato is not a philosopher. Plato is philosophy. If you are understanding Plato properly, then so many thinkers you can understand. If you're not understanding Plato properly, Plato is philosophy. Plato is not only a philosopher. That's why whatever you will study, rationalism, empiricism, critical philosophy of Kant, Hegel, everything you can see in Greek period. So roots of everything you can see in Greek philosophy, but coincidentally only 2 thinkers are included in your syllabus from Greek. In academics, you can see Greek used to be taught as a separate paper. I have studied Greek philosophy as a separate paper. And there you can see that Thales, Anaximander, Anaximenes, Heraclitus, Parmenides, Empedocles, Xenophanes, so many Parmenides, Heraclitus, many thinkers are there. And a few are relevant for you. 2013, one question UPSC has asked. Comment. If movement is contradiction, then Hegel's dialectic method. Movement dialectic is not firstly used by. किसी भी साल देखना यूपीएससी प्लेटो की डायलेक्टिक पूछेगा. आज बता रहा हूं मैं. Any year UPSC can ask Plato's dialectic. Then students will say that no, this is out of syllabus. Actually, dialectic was lived by Socrates. जो भी आप प्लेटो में पढ़ते हो, everything belongs to Socrates. Only one sentence I'll tell you. Unsystematic lifestyle of Socrates was actually systematized by Plato through dialogues, through dialectics. Your faces are saying that you have not gone through any textbook, if I am not wrong. Because whatever I am telling you, these things are mentioned in the simple, or you can say simplest books, which are prescribed for UG courses, undergraduate courses. Okay, in due course of time you will see that so many things you will get, and whatever you will miss, I will try to give. Now you don't have the model answers, so I will discuss the things in detail, and you can also note down something. Now question number 2A. Question number 2 is, explain the rationalist and empiricist theory of knowledge, how their reconciliation began in the philosophy of Leibniz and completed in the philosophy of Kant. Firstly, you have to tell me that what is the rationalist method of knowledge and what is the empiricist method of knowledge. What first point you will mention? What is rationalism, if I ask you? Innate ideas, or you can say one and only one source of knowledge is reason, reason with capital R, reason, understanding, all these. No? Right? Regarding empiricism, you can say that one and only one source of knowledge, experience, sensation. Any other point if it is flashing in your mind? Rationalist will always go for universality and necessity of the knowledge. Knowledge must be universal, knowledge must be necessary. भैया देखो ये सारे words भी, since I am not taking foundation batch classes, so these words are very essential and having very deep sense of meaning. So whatever will flash in my mind, I will explain you. Sometimes you use the word in simple English language, but in philosophy that word is specifically used in logical sense. You know that logic is the heart of philosophy. Universal means what? Spatial consistency. And necessary means temporal consistency. And the judgments of mathematics are universal and necessary in that sense. So necessary is not a simple word of English language. Here, if you would have the question paper, then I would have asked you to say 2013 question number 1C. Read the question. Distinguish between. मुझे तो क्वेश्चन याद है, but I want to listen from your end. 2013 question number 1C. Okay. Distinguish between necessary and empirical proposition. So necessary means the judgment of mathematics, the analytical statement, temporal consistency. See that. Triangle has 3 sides and 3 angles. This is true in India, this is true in America, this is true in England. So it means this is a universal statement. This was true yesterday, this is true today, and this will true tomorrow as well. temporal consistency. So mathematicians will go for universality and necessity of the knowledge. Now you can simply understand one more thing I want to tell you. Don't prepare the thinkers in patches. What I say that whole Western philosophy is just like a wire. If you vibrate one end, next end must vibrate. That's why agar you are not being able to establish a relation between Descartes and Strawson, वो दो थिंकर छोड़ दो, प्लेटो एरिस्टोटल, दे आर आइकन्स. वायर फ्रॉम विल स्टार्ट फ्रॉम डेकार्ट्स. अब अगर तुम यहां पे रैशनलिज्म में समझ रहे हो कि यूनिवर्सल एंड नेसेसरी नॉलेज, then you will understand that why Hume has challenged. Being a consistent empiricist, he has challenged the universality and necessity of causation. Because this is the essence of, this is the basic, you can say, basic concept of rationalist process of knowledge, rationalist theory of knowledge. One more point you can mention that, कि rationalist will go for deductive method and empiricist will go for inductive method. They will give priority. अब डिडक्शन इंडक्शन के बीच में भी भाई बड़ा डिस्प्यूट है. हाउ यू कैन डिफाइन डिडक्शन मीन्स वो यूनिवर्सल टू पर्टिकुलर, पर्टिकुलर टू यूनिवर्सल नहीं बताना आज के टाइम में. आज के टाइम में दैट डिफरेंस हैज नॉट बीन एक्सेप्टेड. व्हेन द ट्रूथनेस ऑफ द प्रमाइसेस गिव सफिशिएंट ग्राउंड फॉर द ट्रूथनेस ऑफ द कंक्लूजन, देन द आर्गुमेंट इज डिडक्टिव. All humans are mortal, Socrates is human, therefore Socrates is mortal. If the premises are true, then conclusion must be true. That is deductive method. Because universal particular में ना अगर तुम modern logic देखोगे ना, तुम you may not have read the modern logic. That's why बच्चे को कंटेम्प्रेरी वेस्टर्न फिलोसफी टफ लगता है कि दैट कैन बी एक्सप्लेन्ड ओनली थ्रू मॉडर्न लॉजिक, सिंबॉलिक लॉजिक. इट मीन्स यू आर नॉट अवेयर अबाउट द रूल ऑफ यूजी, यूनिवर्सल जनरलाइजेशन एंड यूनिवर्सल इंस्टेंशिएशन. यूनिवर्सल इंस्टेंशिएशन इज यूनिवर्सल टू पर्टिकुलर एंड यूनिवर्सल जनरलाइजेशन इज पर्टिकुलर टू यूनिवर्सल. दोनों डिडक्टिव है भाई, दोनों डिडक्टिव है. हाउ यू कैन से दैट? दैट वॉज ओनली ट्रेडिशनल डिफरेंस, ओनली ट्रेडिशनल डिफरेंस. एक्चुअली यूपीएससी डज नॉट नो दैट यू हैव नॉट स्टडीड दिस सब्जेक्ट इन योर एकेडमिक्स. तो आपको ऐसे लिखना है कि एग्जामिनर को ये नहीं पता चले कि यू हैव नो बैकग्राउंड ऑफ दिस सब्जेक्ट. This is not your work, this is work of your guide. Right from this day, this is my work. So जहाँ पर भी कुछ ऐसा आएगा, then I will explain you. Inductive, when the truthiness of the premises give strength to the conclusion. No sufficient ground is there. Give strength to the conclusion. I give one supplement, the words commonly used in philosophy, so and that you can collect or later on I can give you. तो उसमें देखना कि जब D आएगा तो उसमें मैं कहता हूँ D में देखो डिडक्टिव में क्या लिखा है और उसकी लैंग्वेज से you can understand that is not my language, that I have borrowed from certain dictionaries or like that. तो ये डिडक्टिव इंडक्टिव का होगा. मैथमेटिशियन तो डिडक्टिव मेथड फॉलो करेंगे एंड एम्पिरिसिस्ट इंडक्टिव मेथड. अब इंडक्टिव पे आपको लगेगा 2004 में यूपीएससी हैज आस्क्ड द क्वेश्चन ह्यूमन इंडक्शन, 2004 or 2002 आई थिंक. एंड देन यू हैव टू मेंशन द innate ideas. तो rationalists will talk about innate ideas and empiricists will refute. लेकिन इस प्रोसेस ऑफ नॉलेज में कमी क्या थी? व्हाट वाज एग्जैक्टली लैकिंग? क्यों कांट को रिकॉन्सिलिएट करना पड़ा? व्हाई कैंट वेंट फॉर रिकॉन्सिलिएशन ऑफ दिस टू? एक बच्चे के कॉपी में मैंने देखा कि ह्यूम की फिलॉसफी स्केप्टिक है. अरे भैया, ह्यूम स्केप्टिक नहीं है. ह्यूम हैज ओनली बीन ब्लेम्ड फॉर दिस. Later on, A.J. Ayer said that I am also saying the same thing. Synthetical statements are probable. Can you say my philosophy is skeptic? Any thinker, any philosopher who searches certainty in synthetic proposition is stupid. Hume was an empiricist. Being an empiricist, he was talking about synthetical statements. And synthetical statements are probable. What is wrong in this? Hume is not a skeptic. Hume is a positivist. Seeds of logical positivism you can see in Hume. तो ऐसे नहीं लिखो कि ह्यूम की फिलॉसफी हैज बीन कल्मिनेटेड इन स्केप्टिसिज्म. नहीं, ह्यूम इज ओनली ब्लेम्ड फॉर दिस. रैशनलिज्म वाज ब्लेम्ड फॉर dogmatism, because Leibniz said that, Descartes said that a few ideas are innate, Leibniz said that all the ideas are innate. If all the ideas are innate, it means there is no scope for novelty. It means dogmatism. If you are not ready to accept anything new, it means you are supporting, you are establishing dogmatism. Empiricism was blamed for skepticism. Now what? Now what? If rationalism alone cannot produce the knowledge, empiricism alone cannot produce the knowledge. Now what? Now Kant took the charge, criticized and reconciliated both the previous schools. But this reconciliation, now you can understand, actually begins with Leibniz. From obscure to clear and distinct. But क्यों Leibniz को credit नहीं किया? भैया, at the time of Leibniz, no Hume was there. There was no threat for physics and causation or scientific temper. At the time of Kant, all these things we can see. So the credit goes to Kant. Even if you will see my pre-class material in Kant, so you can see I have mentioned the name of Leibniz.